Shout out to each and every one of you guys. This is a video that's being repeated, but it's all good. First of all, I want to start off with Psalms 34:7. It says, "The angel of the Lord encamps round about him that fears him and delivers them." It goes on to say, "O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusts in him. O fear the Lord, you his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. O taste and see." Matthew 21:18-22 says, "Now in the morning, as Jesus returned into the city, he was hungry. He saw a fig tree in the way, and he came to it and found nothing thereon but leaves only, and said to it, Let no fruit grow on you henceforth forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, How soon is this fig tree withered away? Jesus answered and said to them, Verily I say unto you, if you have faith and don't doubt, you shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if you say unto the mountain, Be thou removed, and be cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things whatever you ask in prayer, believing, you shall receive." Now, I challenge you guys today to taste and see that God is good. Taste and see that God is good. Blessed is the man that trusts in him. And there's another place where the Lord says, Try me. So if there's something that you think is impossible for you to do, or is impossible for you as a person or human to do, then I suggest you try God. You try God. Push to your limit. In fact, forget your limits. See what he can do, because it's always important for, I suspect, us to see and trust God and know that he's real to us. And I think a lot of people, the problem is that a lot of us don't put God to the test. We don't let him show his glory. We don't let him do what he does best, show his goodness. And so I challenge each and every one of you today to put God to a test. Put him to the test, if you want to call it that. What you know you just can't do, and you know is not possible, ask him. Just let him show you that the impossible is possible. So that's what I want you guys to do today. So what we're going to talk about is this gentleman here. He comes from a long line of Puerto Rican boxers. And these are them here. All these guys are Puerto Rican boxers. And I want to show that this guy is just as comparable to all of these legendary fighters from before. And that some of the bad flack that this guy gets, these legendary fighters actually have. They have actually accomplished more or less the same thing or comparable things to this guy. I think it's important to show that, because a lot of times we do not really truly, we don't appreciate the excellence that we see before us. And we tend to berate it, and we look to the past, or we look somewhere else. Maybe if we're a local place, we condemn what's local and we praise what's foreign, or we always want to look elsewhere, to something else outside of the present real-time excellence that's before us. We underappreciate what we're seeing. So that's why I want to highlight this. Okay, so let's look first at the other excellent Puerto Rican fighters. There are many. But if you look at Edwin Rosario, for example, a mark of what makes a great career is who you fight and who you beat. It's not always, how many accolades you get, like, how many weight classes you go through and so on. Those are important too, but, or how many belts you get. It's not necessarily that. It's who you fight, who you beat. Let's just show you what Edwin Rosario, some of the notable names he fought and he either beat or he lost. So Edwin Rosario, faced some legendary fighters of his time. Jose Luis Ramirez was a long-reigning legendary lightweight champion, and he managed to beat him in attaining the WBC World Lightweight title. He then went on to face a very skilled fighter in Howard Davis Jr., and he got a split decision over him. He rematched Jose Luis Ramirez, and Ramirez knocked him out. First time he was stopped. First time I think he lost as well in his career, which was amazing. Took back his title. He would then go on to face Frankie Randall, who is famous for defeating Julio Cesar Chavez, giving Julio Cesar Chavez his first official loss. And went on to lose a split decision to Hector Camacho, who was a legendary fighter. And then went on to face Julio Cesar Chavez and lose to him by knockout as he was trying to gain back the WBA lightweight title. That's not all, though. He went on to face and lose to Juan Nazario, who he had faced earlier on, unbeaten, losing the WBA lightweight title to him. And then he would rematch Frankie Randall, and that was pretty much his career. His career was mostly at lightweight. He did go up to super lightweight eventually, but he mostly had a lightweight career. And what was amazing, though, was the legendary fighters he faced: Julio Cesar Chavez, Frankie Randall, Hector Camacho. These are legendary. And Jose Luis Ramirez. These are legendary fighters. 4 legendary fighters he faced. Some he won against, some he lost against. When you look at Hector Camacho, who was one of the guys that Edwin Rosario faced, he also faced some legendary fighters. And what's amazing about this, he did this in different weight classes, going up and down weight classes. It was pretty insane what this guy did. I'll show you what I mean. He began his career at super featherweight. Okay, was super featherweight, like Floyd Mayweather. He was able to defeat Rafael Limon to get the super featherweight champion. Rafael Limon, who's that? So forget that part. But he faced the legendary Jose Luis Ramirez and was able to get a win over him at lightweight. He moved up a weight class, defeated Jose Luis Ramirez, who was the WBC lightweight champion at the time. He go on to get a split decision win over Edwin Rosario. Faced a number of really good fighters like Cornelius Boza Edwards and Howard Davis Jr. Then beat the legendary Ray Mancini, who's in the Hall of Fame, the WBO World Super Lightweight Champion. So he moved up from super featherweight, he was a champion. He then went on to become a champion at lightweight, and then he became at the best lightweight at the time. And he went on to become a world champion at super lightweight. He's not done. He then goes on to face Vinny Pazienza. This is at super lightweight. He defeats Vinny Pazienza, another legendary fighter. He then goes on to face the great champion Greg Hogan, and he also he loses to him, and then he gets back his title against Greg Hogan. He then goes on to face Julio Cesar Chavez and loses his super lightweight title to him. All right, so we're talking legendary fighters: Julio Cesar Chavez, Vinny Pazienza, Boom Boom Mancini, Edwin Rosario, Jose Luis Ramirez, and we're not done. We're just starting to get warmed up. He then goes on to face Felix Trinidad, a legendary Puerto Rican fighter. Loses to him, and then he goes on to face. I'm not done. Roberto Duran. Now he faces Felix Trinidad at welterweight. So after super lightweight, he goes up to the welterweight, which is fourth weight class. Then goes up to middleweight. Faces Roberto Duran, okay, for a minor title, but he goes up to middleweight, which is his 5th weight class. He then goes to face Sugar Ray Leonard and defeats Sugar Ray Leonard. He gets a win over Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard at middleweight. And then he goes down to welterweight, faces Oscar De La Hoya Arce. So these are the kinds and caliber of opposition that Hector Camacho faced. This guy's legendary, okay? When you got names such as Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran on your list, these are legendary guys. And you're not even done. That was just like the second half of your career. You also have names such as Julio Cesar Chavez, Vinny Pazienza, Greg Hogan, and Edwin Rosario, and Jose Luis Ramirez on your list. That's a ton of really, 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 really legendary fighters. So this guy's no doubt a legendary fighter. And we're talking about weight classes from super featherweight all the way up to middleweight. That's crazy. Esteban de Jesus, legendary lightweight champion, he is known as. the first guy to beat Roberto Duran. And he gave Roberto Duran his first loss in 1972. It wasn't a world championship fight, but nonetheless he beat him. He also went on to beat another legendary fighter, or at least face Antonio Cervantes, who's a legendary long-reigning super lightweight champion. He then went on to face Duran again, and he also faced guys like Saul Ambe, who was a he had a very long career, Saul Ambe. Lost to him getting knocked out in super lightweight. So, Esteban de Jesus was mostly notorious for beating Roberto Duran at least once. He did fight at least 3 or 4 notable fighters. Wilfredo Gomez was better known, even though he was a long-reigning super bantamweight champion. I think what he's really known for is facing Salvador Sanchez. He had a number of good fighters at his time, but not really legendary that he fought. But Salvador Sanchez was the guy that really made him great. After his loss to Salvador Sanchez, was still undefeated at super bantamweight. He ended up facing guys like Juan Laporte and getting wins over them, and Rocky Lodgebridge. Also faced the legendary Zumba Nelson. So that was basically his career. Then we had guys like Wilfredo Benitez. Wilfredo Benitez won his championship against a guy named Carlos Palomino, a legendary long-reigning welterweight champion. He got it by split decision, then went on before that to beat Antonio Cervantes at world super lightweight level. So those were the 2 legendary champions he beat. And then after that, he faced also Sugar Ray Leonard, who he lost to, getting stopped in the 15th round, as well as he also faced Roberto Duran and Thomas the Hitman Hearns. That's what his career is really known for. You can call him the 5th king. And of course, Felix Trinidad, another legendary guy. And probably he's the only guy that can really challenge a guy like Hector Lopez seriously. Now, he was bringing a long-reigning welterweight champion, having beat Maurice Blocker, who beat guys like Lloyd Honnigan and Marlon Starling. But he also faced legendary guys like Hector Camacho, Luis Ramon Campos. He also faced guys like Freddie Pendleton, Pernell Whitaker, Oscar De La Hoya, and getting wins over them, Fernando Vargas, William Joppy, Bernard Hopkins, Ricardo Mayorga, Winky Ronald Wright, and even ended his career with the legendary Roy Jones Jr. And when you just talk about his legendary names, that's a lot of legendary names. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 legendary names we're talking about. 6 legendary names. Maurice Block is a great name and so on, but 6 legendary names. This is impressive. And the only guy I think that he actually rivals is Hector Camacho in terms of legendary names. Let's look at Miguel Cotto very quickly. So Miguel Cotto. Before Miguel Cotto was champion, he was facing guys such as Cesar Bazan, who was a former world champion, as well as Carlos Mosso, who became a future world champion, and getting wins over them, stopping them cold. But he really started off really showing his true colors when he faced guys such as Paulie Malignaggi, Carlos Quintana, Zab Judah, Shane Mosley, Antonio Margarito, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather. Those were the guys that he really shone the brightest, and Sergio Martinez, as well as Saul Canelo Alvarez. So his legendary fighters, or to-be legendary fighters, are like Saul Canelo Alvarez, Sergio Martinez, Floyd Mayweather, Antonio Margarito, Manny Pacquiao, Shane Mosley, Zab Judah. Those are really the legendary fighters. And if you look at it, that's quite a lot of legendary fighters as well as good fighters in there, and world champions. So that's why I said Miguel Cotto, he kind of stacks up with these other guys. Maybe he's not as legendary as guys like Hector Camacho and Tito Trinidad, but for sure, he has got some really solid competition, and the best competition of his day. Some people say, well, he did GGG. Well, he wasn't really a big middleweight, and actually, he overaccomplished for the size that he was. He actually went up a weight class more than he actually weighed. So he went up middleweight when he was not even a middleweight. Also won more middleweight championships in different weight classes than any other Puerto Rican fighter in history. So these are all big things to remember. I take from this, therefore, that you cannot put down a guy like Miguel Cotto. He stacks up there with the very best, and he's at the top of the list. I mean, he's ahead of guys like Wilfredo Benitez, ahead of guys like Wilfredo Gomez, and Esteban de Aces. Hector Camacho, I don't think so. Hector Camacho really accomplished a lot. He's ahead of Edwin Rosario. I think the guys who he may be in the shade of are guys like Hector Camacho and Felix Trinidad. But because he was able to defeat so many people, and win so many crucial titles with the men's of the division, you have to put him up there with the all-time greatest Puerto Rican fighters. So that's my little video on it, so that you guys would respect the present legends as you praise, and rightfully so, the past ones. You guys have a good one.